Hello and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel for a review of Mulan 2020. Let's get down to the review so we can meet the Huns and see if they're any good. Well, here's Mowgli. Mowgli's back. Mowgli's here for his revenge. Cranky, cranky, cranky Hun Mowgli. Wait a minute, Mowgli's in India. Not anymore. This is Disney showing diversity. Pulling in actors that used to play people from India, now playing people from China. People that used to play people from Japan, now playing people from China. People playing characters from Vietnam, now playing characters from China. That's diversity. Okay. Well, when we watched Frozen 2, that takes place in Nordic country, in the Dark Ages, why did they have a black general in Frozen 2? In the Nordic country, and yet 400 years later, approximately, no, wait a minute, actually it's 400 years earlier, getting my history mixed up that we'll get into later in the video, they don't have any Africans in this. Where's my Africans, my black Africans in this? Clearly Africa is closer to China than it is to the Nordic country, and more climate similar. So Disney, you're letting us down on that diversity thing. Now, about the movie. It starts, the first 3.5 minutes are just horrible. For a movie that's supposed to make you want you to get excited, that first 3 minutes is terrible. But remember, they were planning on releasing this in the theater, so they figure, well, you paid the money, you're sitting, you took us in the seat. We're good for the first 3 minutes. You're not going to get up and bail that fast. But at home, it's seriously worth contemplating. That first 3 minutes, CGI, acting, you name it, cinematography is all just stop watching this movie, stop, stop, stop. That's the commercial right there. If you can get beyond those 3 minutes, it gets less horrible. The CGI doesn't. The CGI stays really bad through the whole movie, especially the Phoenix, but there's a lot of other especiallys. So, in this icky, icky, ooh, you have so much CGI at the beginning of the movie that presents, let's face it, that's computer-generated imagery, but it's animation, it's cartoon, it's just digital cartoon, and it leaves you wondering, watching the beginning, and by this I mean like 30-40 minutes, what was the point of transferring it from an actual cartoon that was really good and had great music and great songs, and there's a difference, songs have lyrics, and it was a wonderful movie, from that to live action CGI. It was no different than The Lion King and the other Mowgli movie, Jungle Book, which is, guys, you just went from one form of animation to the other, and then you have the nerve to call it live action? Y'all don't know what live action means. This is CGI. It's computer-generated cartoons instead of regular cartoons. No different than Toy Story 4. Whatever. Okay, so way too much CGI that is done very poorly and puts it into a more cartoony style of a movie than the actual cartoon. The cartoon actually played it straight for the most part, give or take Mushu. Oh, and they did give Mushu. They didn't take him. We miss Mushu. Okay, do they have comic relief in this? Yeah, the companions in the military are just as fun as they were last time. Different personalities, but they did a good job with that. Mostly different personalities. You could say, well, that one's that one, that one, that one. Whatever. The other thing that's interesting about this movie, from the point of view of a Disney film, is this movie is filled with Chinese religion. I mean, it's just overflowing with Chinese religion. But they won't show Christian religion anymore. So why is this religion acceptable and not this religion? Because if you say this religion is acceptable and this one's not, well, that's known as theist. It's not racist. Theist. You've chosen the Chinese religion over the Christian religion, which is your right to do. But don't think we don't notice it. Next up on the agenda, as far as I could find from my research, because this guy is called Bori Khan, I couldn't find any examples of the name Khan existing before 1200. And this story takes place. Let's go look. Let's do the history part, and then we'll come back to the story part. Okay, so here's the thing about Khan, also spelled Chom. Mongolian monarch, this is Genghis, of course, early 13th century, and then it turns into a Muslim name eventually, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. And what else did we do here? Is it this part? Oh, the true story of Mulan. Okay, the original origins of the ballad, the original source of Mulan's story came from a folk song. Hoot diggy diggy do. In the North Wei dynasty. I don't know how to speak fake Chinese with the English spelling that they don't do phonetically. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. Which is 386 AD. Thank gosh they say AD instead of all those other crazy letters. And 557. So this is obviously 700 years before Genghis Khan. So I'm not sure it was accurate to be putting that into the Khan category. But they did, and they do. So there you go. Okay, now, what else do we need to know about this movie? Well, we already addressed the part of the tons of religion. And the way they treat Qi is exactly... By the way, Qi, C-H-I, China... Anybody else notice that's probably the word origin? Anyways, the way they treat Qi is exactly the way they treat the Force. They even use some of the exact same lines from Star Wars. Why not? They own Star Wars. But I'm like, dude, you're describing the Force and you're borrowing from Obi-Wan Kenobi's description, and you think we're not going to notice that? Or we're supposed to notice it and be okay with it? Ooh, there's lots more Star Wars coming up in this movie. A lot more. Stick around. Okay, now, the other thing we want to cover is there's a part where Mulan gets stabbed in the heart with a throwing star, and it doesn't penetrate her shirt. That's true. That is a scientific truth. Silk will not let the arrows or throwing stars penetrate it. It can still be driven into the skin, but it will not go through the thread. So the Huns did... Now, I know she's not a Hun, but she's still China. They still had silk. The Huns actually wore... Whoa, hello. Mission accomplished. Okay, the Huns did wear the silk to protect them from the arrows, so that when they got shot, instead of pulling an arrow out of the flesh, which rips it out, because that's the way arrows are designed with the arrowheads, it would instead, if it did penetrate the skin, you could use your shirt, the silk shirt, and pull it, and yeah, you still got the wound, but you don't have the arrow stuck in you anymore to remove, so you just treat the flesh wound. And so that's actually her getting stabbed and not having it penetrate her top. Very possible. So that's kind of a fun science / historical accuracy. Another fun historical accuracy is the way they show the Huns riding the horse. They show them as master horse riders. In this film, the tricks that they do are nothing compared to what the Huns could really do. The Huns started riding horse when they were 2 or 3 years old, and they were good, and they were really, really good on horses. So those tricks, nothing compared to what they could do. That was easy peasy lemon squeezy compared to some of the other things. So that was a really fun historical accuracy. Now, you will notice they are riding on really gigantic horses, and they have full saddles. Yeah, no. They did have stirrups, and that's how they were able to do a lot of their tricks. But they did not ride horses that looked like that. Let's talk about the horses that they did ride. It says, and unsurprisingly enough, much like the Mongol variant, the Huns were also mostly reliant on the steep, or steppes, however you want to pronounce it. It means valley, huge valley, or prairie, variety of horses. Now here's the difference between the ones you see in the movie and the real ones. Known for their rough coats, short legs, and muscular structures, and incredible stamina. Comparing with the Roman horses, which is what they're riding in the Mulan movie, Vegetus, there's a name, Vegetus mentioned in page 49 of the Hun Scourge of God, AD 37. I actually read that book. Okay, so, yeah, the horses we see in the Disney film, no. One of the things that made them so able on the horses was because the horses were lower, so they had a lower center of gravity, and that made them not fall off. So, yay, that was a good thing. So, high five on accuracy of them being incredible horse riders. Low five for them using the wrong kind of horses to do it on. Okay, now, finally, let's get into... Well, not finally, because we'll do the music at the end, I hope to remember. The other thing is the Star Wars connections. You've got this witch who they did not go with the American idea of making her ugly and old. They went with the more typical Chinese version of making her young and beautiful. So, cool for them. And, oh, the dialogue between Mulan and the which is the dialogue between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, or Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, depending on which scene you're watching, both of Star Wars and of this. It's the exact, well, I don't say exact same, it's the exact same concept of, no, I can feel the Force is still within you, trying to bring you to the good side. No, don't do it, Luke. I'm too far gone. Join me in the dark side. It's like, oh, geez, seriously. It's like, if you've never seen a Star Wars movie, you're not going to get it because you haven't seen a Star Wars movie. You're not catching the reference. Yay for you. In fact, if you're a kid and you haven't seen many movies at all, you're probably going to like this movie a lot. You don't care that the CGI sucks. You don't have anything to compare it to. You're a kid. But if you're a grown-up, you go, wow, that CGI is really horrible. The cinematography at the beginning, which I'm guessing is a different director, is really horrible. And the crazy cartooning as a grown-up is like, why is it's still a cartoon? It's still a cartoon. It's actually doing more cartoony things than before. And where is Mushu? But if you're a kid, it's all good. Then you can get into the horrible historical accuracy things like I did for the anachronisms, and things like that. But the Star Wars comparison, oh, it's just annoying. It's so bad. Now, if you want to know where the movie was filmed, a little bit of it was filmed in China. A lot of it was filmed in where the Hobbits are from, New Zealand. Yeah, it's filmed in New Zealand. And then, of course, they filmed some in Canada, in not Montreal, over on the other side, BC, British Columbia. Luckily, they didn't use that same old lake and the lagoon that's in every CW show. And once upon a time, a million times, like, guys, learn to shoot that lagoon from different angles. We're so sick of seeing that lagoon. Ugh. Anyway, Mulan. So if you haven't seen movies before, you might enjoy it. Is it better than the cartoon? No, of course not. And neither was Aladdin, and none of them are. Neither was Cinderella. No, the cartoons were the original. They were the classics. These are the hanger-ons that say, please give us more money. Please, we're here for the cash grab. Didn't work in this case because they spent so darned much money, and then the cootie arrived from this very country. You've got Mowgli from the earlier Disney Jungle Book movie that was live action, that was real live action. And he also was in Lilo and Stitch, and now he's the bad guy in Mulan. So they really don't care about racial diversity. They just care, what do you look like? Oh, we couldn't help but notice the color of your skin and the shape of your eyes. You can be in this movie. They did the exact same thing in Aladdin. They didn't care if they were from Arabia. Heck no. They said, do you have this color of skin? Do you have this many eyebrows? Bam, you're in the movie. But no, not in Frozen. Let's get us a not South African, but an African from sub-Sahara Africa and put them as a general in the Nordic country and never explain why. Yeah, because that happened all the time back then. No, it happened in Russia once, because I did look it up. Yeah, once. And it was a big deal then. Like, dude, that's an outsider. Why are they in charge of us? And I'd never seen anybody that looked like that before, says the Nordics. Okay, so was the movie any good? I enjoyed it, except for all of the CGI. That part bugged me. The part with the Star Wars, I'm like, take it with a grain of salt. It just sucks that it's a Disney movie and Disney owns Star Wars, and so they're stealing from themselves, which technically they're stealing from themselves to do this movie in the first place. There you go. But is it a fun watch? Yeah, it's okay. I preferred this over Aladdin. Now, I know there's going to be people disagree, but the irony of Aladdin was that Will Smith is a black guy. And he's saying, you ain't got a friend like me, like a white guy. And Robin Williams is a white guy, and he's saying, you ain't never had a friend like me, like a black guy. And it's just, that was hilariously ironic. I'm like, you guys crossed posts. And Robin Williams did a better job than Will Smith did. And Will Smith's job was to actually be a singer. So, irony upon irony. So check this movie out if you want. Is it worth $30? Depends on how many kids you got. The kids will probably like it, if you can get them past the first 4 minutes. Because that first 3.5 is just like, ooh, it's an anti-commercial for this. Icky, icky, ooh. Other than that, I finally made it through this review. I was dreading having to make it. Now we go back to politics as usual on this channel, because I don't think I got any more movies or TV shows lined up for a while. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the future.